Greetings. Today's guest is a Getzen Eterna Cornet made in the early or mid 1980s. Took me a long time to find one of these that wasn't either overpriced or totally beat up or both. This is the so-called short model cornet, named in part because of the design of the bell. This is a shepherd's crook bell. Makes it slightly shorter overall as compared to, say, a so-called long model cornet like this Bach Stradivarius from the 50s. We examined this horn in another video on the playlist, and we'll take a look at those side by side just to kind of see differences. You can see the more traditional type bell shape. It's not a shepherd's crook bell on the Bach cornet. They started making those later on. I think that's model 184, but up until that time they were all long model cornets. It's more of a sound closer to that of a trumpet. This has a slightly mellower sound, darker sound. This is a large bore. It has a first valve, first slide trigger, metal water keys, which you either love or hate. And you can see that the valve block, the length of the valve casings is quite tall. It's to accommodate for this unusual tuning slide lead pipe configuration here. All the tuning slide business is under the second valve, whereas on this Bach, it's both under and over. So Bach cornets used and still use, as far as I know, normal trumpet valve blocks. In the case of the Getzen, they would have had to design and manufacture a totally different valve block that wouldn't be used on either a trumpet or a flugelhorn. The length of the piston from the top cap to the bottom cap is approximately 14.8 centimeters compared to a Getzen Eterna flugelhorn, which measures 12.3. So it's quite a difference. This horn is in relatively good shape. There's some pitting on the lead pipe and a small bit of plating wear there. My experience that the plating on Getzen instruments is very, very tough and durable. And this is no exception. There's no other plating loss in any other part of the horn. There's only a small dent right here. It's in very good shape, and it sounds pretty good. Let's make a little audio comparison, first with the Getzen Eterna and a Dennis Wick 2B, this gold-plated mouthpiece. And then I'll play the same thing on the Getzen with a Dennis Wick 3B cornet mouthpiece, this silver-plated one. I'm going to do the same thing now with the Bach Strad cornet from the 50s. First with the 2B, gold-plated mouthpiece, and then with the 3B, the silver-plated mouthpiece. When doing these kinds of A-B comparisons, I find it really helpful to play simple things on the first instrument or mouthpiece, if you're comparing mouthpieces, and then play exactly the same thing with the new instrument and or mouthpiece. Too many guys pick up new horns and mouthpieces and just start going crazy, and you really kind of can lose your way. I find it really helpful just to play a simple scale, arpeggio, some kind of melodic piece like a concone study, or maybe the melody to a jazz ballad, or if you're a classical player, maybe you could play part of the second movement of the Haydn Trumpet Concerto. But always going back and forth, playing similar or exactly the same thing on both instruments or mouthpieces. Free tip. To do some more A-B comparisons between the two instruments using the same Dennis Wick 2B mouthpiece, I've taken a backing track from a method that I wrote entitled Odd Meter Escapades. There are jazz etudes in all odd meters. It's actually pretty difficult, but you might find it interesting. And what I've done is played first 16 bars with the Getzen, and then 16 more bars of improvisation with the Bach, and then a second chorus. I've done exactly the same thing. So maybe you could listen closely and compare. And if you have any comments or questions, please let me know. See you next time.